Hello everyone, you're watching Let's Talk About Prepping. I'm Tyler, your host, and in today's video we're just going to have a brief discussion. So we're just talking today about a couple things that I've been thinking about a lot lately, and one of them was inspired by somebody that I talked with recently in another prepper's live stream chat. This person was a new prepper and they were just asking about where they should start with prepping. And aside from the usual of everybody telling them just some of the basics of getting 3 months worth of food and water and these different things, one of the things that I wanted to tell them was just to get started no matter where that means for you. To just start doing something to prepare for the future, because every little thing will help twice as much, at least in the future. And that is relevant no matter whether we have a lot of time to spend on prepping or just a little bit of time, because everybody has their own different work prep life balance. And for a lot of us, that prep portion has to be pretty small because work, family responsibilities that are relevant right now take precedent over things that are preparations for a future that, if we want to be pretty objective about it, these different futures may never come. And we do need to be prepared because it's likely that we will face challenges, but we can't do that at the expense of our real life now. If you're somebody who's so obsessed with prepping for emergencies in the future that you're missing out on your life and some of the great luxuries that exist in this brief bubble of peace that we're existing in, then you might be doing it wrong. Now, that being said, I think that we all have small things that we can do every single day to prepare for the future, whether that's putting a little bit of food aside or a little bit of water. And that's something that I think about every day. I always find small ways to put water aside, and that's really easy for me because I have regular access to 5-gallon buckets that have previously been used for pickles. Now, using pickle buckets for water, transportation, and storage is something that other people have scoffed at me for, including other preppers. But this is something that I've had experience with in the past. When I lived off the grid for a while, I used pickle buckets for drinking and shower water. And especially if you leave them in the sun to let the UV rays destroy some of those organic molecules for a while, the buckets do lose their scent eventually, and they don't really transfer it to other things readily. It's just sort of something that you can smell coming off of the buckets. Aside from all that, a slight pickle smell would be the least of our concerns if we ever actually do end up needing to use water that we've stored in our garage rather than water that we're getting from our taps. Indeed, we're probably going to be treating that water, which will help to alleviate some of that anyways. That being said, I think most of us would love to have the money and space to be able to store large 60-gallon drums of water, but with that costing sometimes more than $1 per gallon of water just per container, and with those drums being able to be stored in just a limited number of storage spaces, I find that 5-gallon buckets, which are much easier to move around and which can be tucked in more corners and stacked on top of or below each other or other things, are a great option, especially because I get them for free once or twice a week. And so therefore I'm able to store at least 10 gallons of water. And between that and other options, and if you can't get a hold of these things because you don't want to spend money on water bottles, or you can't readily get pickle buckets from a friend who works in the food service industry, you can definitely find some food safe plastic or other types of containers, likely in the form of something that you're already purchasing, to begin to squirrel away small amounts of water. Because in almost every type of emergency situation that we talk about, water will be one of the first wants that you feel. Prepping is something that can become overwhelming, and almost everybody experiences some degree of prepping burnout. I know that I have, and I still sometimes experience the urge to just not worry about it for a while and live a normal life. But it's important to remember that we do this for a reason, and that there's always something that we can do to feel that we're making viable progress in our preparations without expending a lot of our energy and effort in doing something that feels like a chore. Speaking of things taking time and energy, it takes time and energy to make YouTube videos, but I enjoy doing it and it's something that I want to do more often. So I've been thinking of different video formats that will allow me to upload more often and fit it into my own schedule more easily. One of those video formats involves me sharing and reviewing fictional films which give me inspiration for prepper type situations. Another format involves book reviews because fictional books are a great source of inspiration, and non-fictional books are sometimes in the public domain, which makes them much easier to review on YouTube videos. For instance, this U.S. Army Survival Manual Compendium contains huge amounts of information, much of which will be review for us preppers, which is valuable, and a lot of which will be fresh and useful information which we may have thought about but may not have the actual facts on. And this is something that I want to start looking at in some future videos because it's something that we can do very often and which I think will be of great value to new and seasoned preppers. Thanks for joining in for this brief discussion. I hope it was thought-provoking, and I hope that you'll all stay tuned for future videos from Let's Talk About Prepping. Stay safe out there, everyone.